Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. I'm your host, Scott. I'm here with my co-host, Saur. And tonight, we are talking about Inter Miami's 4-0 dominant victory that is going to, send the Herons to the conference semifinals for the first time in Inter Miami history, and B, excise a few demons that I know were on everyone's mind over the past week and a half. They have done it. They did it. And it's as fun as I thought it would be. And I think that's my first point. But we'll also give out some awards and do a little preview for Cincinnati and talk about some other things around the Inter Miami world. But before all of that, as I said, I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my friend, my co-host, Saur. How are you feeling on this lovely Sunday evening?
Was it as fun as you thought it'd be? Because I thought it's going to be a bloodbath, and it went way smoother than I expected it to be. I did say that it was going to be a Inter Miami blowout, so maybe that's something. But it feels so good. This conversation could have gone completely south today, and we might be having in another universe, a very negative conversation, but I'm glad that we don't have to do that tonight. I am just happy that we have put Nashville behind us. I'm happy that we can move on to the next round and honestly make a little bit history along the way, because Inter Miami's never done this before. This is the first time in Inter Miami's young history that we managed to make it to the next round of the playoffs. And hopefully this is going to be a trend that continues, and hopefully this leads us with a trophy at the end of the season. I'm feeling great. How are you, Scotty?
My mindset around Inter Miami has changed this week. And I think for the rest of the playoffs, you're going to see a different Scotty on these conversations. And I can talk more about that as we get through and into the rest of this podcast. But let's start with some around the world news. The international break starts now. And unfortunately, Inter Miami has some key players who participate with their national team who have games in faraway places, starting with Lionel Messi and Rodrigo de Paul, who are supposed to play a game in Angola next week. I believe that would be Thursday night. There was rumors that there was originally going to be another leg to that trip in India, so it could have been worse. I think that game was canceled, so I think they're just going to play the one in Angola. But, man, if there was ever a time I would want them to skip international duty, it is ahead of this huge playoff game against FC Cincinnati in 2 weeks. What I will say is, a month ago, during the October international break, Rodrigo de Paul and Messi participated with Argentina. I'm not sure Messi actually played, but he was with them in training. That was in Miami. Their base was in Miami, so they didn't have to actually do any travel. They started the next game, but Ian Frey and Noah Allen, who did travel, were both on the bench for that next game, and I think we saw Gonzalo Lujan and Chelo Wegant for the final time. So it's hard for me to suggest that the travel doesn't matter a little bit to Inter Miami and the coaching staff. Not that it would affect their personnel decisions, but they clearly think it has, at least in some part, an effect on their game. Other players that could be going on international duty, Ian Frey, Fafa Picault, Noah Allen, Santi Morales got called up to the U.S. youth teams. But really the big ones are DePaul and Lionel Messi, because the travel to Africa, Southern Africa, would be a lot.
Are we sure this is Angola, Africa, and not Angola, Las Vegas? We are sure they're traveling all the way to another continent to play an international game that doesn't have any bearing on their season. Because
it's a friendly, too.
That's the jeopardy that comes with the MLS playoffs. It is what it is. I wouldn't blame them if they want to play for their country. It's always an honor to play for one's country, so that's fine. But as a selfish Inter Miami fan, I would actually want them to stay in Fort Lauderdale and practice with the team. And honestly, just wrap up Messi in a bubble wrap for the next 2 weeks, because I do not want him going anywhere near a team that might give in a tackle or make some rough moves in the field that could affect Messi and his playing style. That being
Yeah,
said,
not just that. It is a lot of travel. I mean, it's. I will say I don't know that there is an Angola in Las Vegas.
that was a joke.
Little Angola somewhere in
There's always
downtown
some
Las Vegas,
little
but
version of the world in Las Vegas. So I won't be surprised if there is a downtown Angola in Las Vegas, but that was a joke. My geography isn't that bad.
yeah, I think that's off
But
strip. So you have to go
yeah.
searching for it. I We're at the mercy of their decision.
Mhm.
I understand and respect if they go. I would hope that Argentina fans would understand and accept if they decided not to. But I have a feeling that they're going to go. And I will also say, why in the world is Argentina playing Angola in a November friendly? My guess is that they were paid a lot of money to do it, and part of that was to bring Lionel Messi there. So I don't know if he'll play, but I'm not really worried about the playing. I'm more worried about the travel. That game is Thursday this week, which means I believe they'll be back over the weekend, probably. So they will train with the team all next week. That would be my expectation. Can't say the same for Ian Frey, who, if he was called in, and I think they released their roster already, so I'll double check real quick. They played 2 World Cup qualifying games, so that one would be much more serious.
And again, it goes the same, right? If my choice was Ian Frey staying in Fort Lauderdale and not traveling, I would 100% call for that. As a selfish Inter Miami fan, I don't want any of these players traveling before the most important game of their club season. But I can understand why they would want to. I think it's maybe slightly more important for Ian Frey to play in that game because it is a World Cup qualifier. But I think if I remember correctly, hasn't Jamaica already qualified for the World Cup?
No,
Correct me. Okay, so they
no, those
haven't,
are
which
huge
makes
games.
it, yeah,
Those
that
are huge
makes it
games.
very important game. And the travel distance isn't that much, but still, I think same goes for Messi and Rodrigo de Paul, maybe to a higher degree and lesser degree for Ian Frey, but still, it's going to be important for them to look after themselves and hopefully they can recover quickly once they're back if they do plan to travel. But it does have some implications for that game against Cincinnati in Ohio.
And the other one I should just mention is Tabasco Segovia with Venezuela. That one I think I'm a little less worried about just because Segovia isn't a
Starting.
fundamental part of what we're doing right now. The one bright side to all of these Argentine players in Inter Miami, one of the bright sides is that only so many of them can make the Argentine national team. So guys like Baltasar Rodriguez, Tadeo Allende, Rocco Rios Novo, a lot of these guys are going to be staying in South Florida because they're not quite to that level. Should we get into the game?
Sure. Do we have anything else to talk about?
Well, I would like to see. Yes, one other thing I wanted to talk about. Kai Wagner, Florian Plettenberg, a German transfer reporter, reported on Friday that Inter Miami was interested in Kai Wagner, who is a left back for the Philadelphia Union. Obviously, the Philadelphia Union won the Supporter Shield this year. Wagner's been on that team for a while, was one of the most vocal players this season, especially early in the season, but also last year he had some real comments about how there just wasn't enough talent on the team. And clearly they remedied that with some signings in the offseason and brought a new coach, and here they are winning the Supporter Shield. So Kai Wagner, that would, I guess, mean that things with Sergio Reguilon fell apart. I'm not really sure. Maybe they have a different plan, but it's just a name to put on the radar, I guess.
Can I ask you a hypothetical question?
What's up?
If you had a choice between Kai Wagner and Reguilon, who would you pick? If you were in charge of Inter Miami's front office and if you were whoever it is that's currently in charge of Inter Miami's transfer decisions?
Neither. Neither. No, the thing is, either of those guys are going to make a bunch of money to play at Inter Miami, and I think you can align those resources in different ways. We're going to talk about this when we get into the offseason, but Inter Miami still has a little bit of a financial crunch and some misallocation of resources, and the primary goal has to be to clear some of those. Guys like Oscar Ustadi are making ridiculous money. Gonzalo Lujan making ridiculous money. And then you have a bunch of loan options that are going to come through, and you're going to have to take care of those, whether it's to send players back like Tadeo Allende, Baltasar Rodriguez, or whether you're going to buy them, give them a new contract, and then put them on the payroll permanently. So, like, the money situation is tough, and I'd rather go get a fancy winger than a high-quality left back. But also, I think it's too early to have that conversation because we don't know if Mascherano will be back. We don't know what they're going to do to try and replace the big guys. Do they want to set up a different system entirely, or is it just let's try and plug and play a different player and run the same system? It's too early to tell, and we'll have those conversations as soon as the season's over because we'll have a better idea of what the team can do, and we'll do a little bit more research, so we're prepared to have that conversation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then lastly, there was a kid from Inter Miami's academy that made the US U17 roster that I thought I'd mention, but I just realized I don't think he's played for the B team yet, so maybe we shouldn't mention him yet. Just a kid. Let's get into the game because the game started, and I was nervous, and then Messi got on the ball, scored a goal, and I was no longer nervous. 10th minute, there's a little bit of pressure applied to Matthew Corcoran by Ian Frey. He tries to just push the ball back. He's under pressure. He's a young player. He puts the ball back. It's a slight deflection by Tadeo Allende. Puts the ball right into Lionel Messi's path. And then Messi does what Messi does. Just runs at Jack Maher. Maher is unable to really handle that situation well at all. He was just off balance and backtracking in a way that Messi had him sort of wrapped around his finger. Puts the shot on goal through the legs of Walker Zimmerman. And it was really I'm him, I'm here, we're winning, good luck, and goodbye to Nashville. Inter Miami takes a 1-0 lead in the 10th minute of the game, and I didn't feel nervous at any point for the rest of the 90 minutes, really.
I told you I hadn't actually felt nervous starting the game either. I was looking for a couple of signs to understand how Inter Miami is going to set up, and the first 5 minutes would tell me whether I should get nervous as the game progresses. And I saw some really positive things happening from Inter Miami. We had Nashville try to push up slightly and try to, of course, press the ball like they did in the last game. This time around, Inter Miami was a lot better playing out from the back. I looked at Jordi Alba helping out in that back line, trying to put the ball out. I mentioned this to you off the record, but also yesterday during the post-game reaction, a few people in the chat mentioned that Baltasar Rodriguez was almost playing as a left wing back, and I saw that happen off the ball. Our off the ball structure was a 5-man back line, which meant that Javier Mascherano recognized the need to be a little bit more defensively astute. And then on the ball, we were playing a more 4-4-2, but it looked a lot better playing out from the back. I thought the midfielders with Sergio Busquets staying put in the midfield looked a lot better. And then when we were trying to press, the structure was very good. We had the legs to do it. And that's what resulted in the goal. Frey sticking to his man, trying to pressure, trying to make a challenge for the ball. Doesn't necessarily need to win the ball directly, but puts the 19-year-old Corcoran under pressure. I feel sorry for him because he's been given this huge opportunity. He's a very talented player and costs his team a crucial chance in a dangerous position. And as soon as the ball gets to Messi and he has that much space in front of him to run into, there's only one way that situation is going to end up, and that's with the ball in the back of the net. That finish was not easy because he was still surrounded by 3 defenders. It felt like Silvetti was trying to make a dummy run to take a defender away, but everyone just ignored him because they were all so focused on Messi. And then Messi still managed to get a shot away through the legs of Zimmerman and into the corner. I think Willis was a little bit stuck on his feet, but I wouldn't necessarily blame him because his line of sight was blocked off by 3 defenders, 3 men in yellow shirts, and Messi was behind them. So a great goal from Messi. And as you said, after that, it was just okay, keep doing this for the next 80 minutes and we'll be fine.
Yeah, and in defense of Joe Willis, you kind of have to wait to see if there's some sort of deflection. He did have defenders in position to make a play, and they were, all of a sudden the ball scoots through at a pace that by the time it scoots through, you're not going to be able to make a play at. So, really, you would love for Walker Zimmerman to make that play defensively, but really Jack Mayer was the one I thought just put on skates and did not play it particularly well. Indecisive and ultimately unable to impact the play at all. That was the momentum swinger for Inter Miami. We saw in game 2, Nashville gets the early goal, and it brought the crowd into it. It brought their team alive. It gave them belief. We're in this game. We can make plays. We can be a part of this. I felt it was the same but opposite for this game, where Inter Miami gets the early goal. They believe, the crowd gets into it, and the other team is all of a sudden backs against the wall trying to survive for a little bit. And just like last game, the team that scores first gets the second before halftime, 39th minute. Jordi Alba, perfect ball over the top from that deeper lying position. And by the way, if you look at the positioning charts, as you mentioned, the biggest outlier difference between last game and this game is Jordi Alba playing behind Baltasar Rodriguez instead of in front of Baltasar Rodriguez, where Baltasar was more of a midfielder last game. He puts that ball over the top to Silvetti. Walker Zimmerman goes to cut it off, misplays it. It's Silvetti open with space. He attracts Jack Mayer to that side. Joe Willis comes out to commit to try and close the gap on Silvetti, but it leaves the net open. Silvetti does exactly what he's supposed to, which is tap the ball over to Lionel Messi, who that's the easiest finish he'll have at Inter Miami. In a wide open net. It's 2-0. Nashville season is over at this point. Messi gets the 2+ goal contributions that Inter Miami needed, and they go into the break with no fear, no doubt, and one hand on the conference semifinal berth.
I do want to rewind it all the way back to the first goal, because as soon as the ball hit the back of the net, I noticed Willis's reaction in goal, and his head just dropped. I felt like that goal sucked the life out of Nashville. And for the rest of the game, that's exactly how it played out. That second goal from Alba was, my goodness, what a ball. I wish that was the assist in itself, because yes, you can blame Walker Zimmerman for not dealing with the ball, but it was a very difficult ball to deal with. Silvetti does extremely well to bring it down on his thigh and control it first time. And then I mentioned this yesterday, but it would have been so easy for that 19-year-old to get excited and think, I can put my team up 2-0 by taking this shot and putting it in the back of the net. No, he looks up, composes himself, very good assist straight into the path of Messi, who has nothing to do but just tap it straight in. That is one where you can say, okay, we didn't need Messi for that, even though he scored that goal. It was created by 2 other players, and that's what I want to see. Create goals for Messi, but don't necessarily always rely on him to put you in those goal-scoring opportunities. That was all Alba and Silvetti, and enjoy it while you can, because those balls from Alba, not every left-back can do, let alone any left-back.
Not every 10 can do.
Yeah. So that was beautiful to watch. And again, Inter Miami just looked in cruise control throughout that first 45.
I just thought of a great award, and I'm upset that it's too late to use it.
Is it?
Yeah, I've already submitted everything to the graphics department. Second half, there was the one controversial moment right out of the half. Jacob Schaffelberg wins a free kick. He comes on at halftime, runs down that right side. No one really there because the team hadn't settled in to a shape after the start of the second half. He gets to sort of that right corner, whips in a cross, and it becomes an easy tap-in for Sam Surridge, who is all by himself. But as soon as the ball hits the back of the net, the referee waves it off, calls it a foul, and sends it Miami's way for a free kick. When you first watched the replay, it looks to me, just on the very first watch, right after it happened, it looked to me like it is a very, very obvious flop by Maxi Falcon. And then every other time I've watched it, it looks absolutely clear that he gets his foot stepped on, and it's an obvious foul in my opinion. And even if that had not been seen by the referee, VAR would have looked at it and overturned it, because the only reason Sam Surridge was wide open for a tap-in is because Maxi Falcon is on the floor because he gets stepped on by Sam Surridge. I can understand why, if you only looked at that one early replay, you may have thought it was a flop, but I don't actually understand why this was a controversial call. And I thought the referee got it absolutely right.
Well, Maxon, that's what probably I should call him from now on. Maxi Falcon does make a bit of a meal out of it. And I think he does a little bit of a flop, I'll be honest. But there was 100% contact. His leg gets swept out from him. And it's interesting because you can't necessarily tell unless you really zoom in on the angle of how Surridge tripped up Maxi Falcon. But I think it's Surridge's front leg that trips off Maxi Falcon's back leg.
He steps on his heel.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so minute that it almost feels like he's stepping on the grass and Maxi Falcon's looking for something. But if he hadn't gone down, he would have probably intercepted the ball. So that's what was a bit confusing to me, why people are making a big deal out of it. He obviously went down because of a specific reason, and that reason was because he was tripped by Surridge, and that's it. Simple as that.
And to be clear, he wasn't even looking at Surridge. Like, he would not have known there was contact coming in order to try and flop. It was obviously a foul, in my opinion, and I thought the referees got it 100% right. And like, we don't say this very often, but kudos to the referee for nailing it right away. That's like a big moment right after half, and he got it 100% right. So didn't rely on VAR or anything. Yeah, not for nothing, but the referee calling fouls early to set the tone after what happened last game was actually pretty nice and refreshing. And as soon as I saw that and Messi scores that first goal in the 10th minute, I thought there is just no chance for Nashville. Their great equalizer from game 2 was not there for them. And then heading forward into the second half, I don't have much to say for Nashville, because aside from that moment, there really was nothing from them. And then in the 73rd minute, Inter Miami seals the game. And listen, we all understand 2-0 is the most dangerous lead in soccer. But there was no danger from Nashville. And so Miami could kind of just regroup, put on a few subs, and eventually they get the breakthrough in the 73rd minute. Actually, like, kind of a long play. And there could be a lot to talk about if we really wanted to dissect it. But ultimately, it ends with a really nice Messi to Alba interchange. Alba to Messi, back to Alba. Alba along the baseline finally finds Allende for the tap-in. It's like the quality you don't see a ton from in the MLS. And it was magnificent, and it was what sealed this game for good.
I'll take it one pass back where Rodrigo de Paul has a really good crossfield ball into Alba, who then passes it to Messi, gets it back, has a really good footwork on the line. I thought he was going to run it out, but manages to keep it in and gets in a position where it's very hard for anybody to defend that. And then he has to pick a good pass, and he finds Allende in a crowd. Very easy finish for him. But that's how you break a low block, because at that point, Nashville had their backs against the wall and they were quite deep. Their last man line was very deep into their own defense, into their own circle, and that 1-2 between Messi and Alba was just everything. It was fantastic to watch and well constructed.
If you want to take it back even farther, I think there's some nice things to say about Ian Frey, nice things to say about Matteo Salvetti. So it really was a team goal, and they had put pressure on Nashville. Nashville recovered and was able to get deep, and then the ball got recycled back to Rodrigo de Paul, who crossed it to Alba, to Messi, to Alba, to Allende for the goal. Really just like a level of technical ability and intelligence and just quality that is really fun to see. And when it seals your berth in the conference semifinal, you get talked about a lot. And then the fun started from there. 3 minutes later, Messi puts Allende through on goal, and he chips Joe Willis, which was the sort of exclamation point on this game. 4-0, Inter Miami wins. Nashville, glad we don't
is behind us. Yeah, that's what I would finish the sentence saying. Thank God we don't have to play them again for a year, hopefully. Honestly, can we just call it off? Like, the next 2 games that we play against them, let's just call it off. Let's all share the points. I don't even want to play for a win against them anymore.
There was a time where Nashville was in the Western Conference. I'll just say that.
Yeah. So put them back in there.
And
No,
that's
that
it.
was a great performance.
I didn't think there was a ton of interesting moments worth sharing. There was an interesting set piece where instead of them doing that thing to Alba at the top of the box, Alba dummied it, and it was to Baltasar. So there's a world where he scores that, and we're talking about how they set this play up all season by continually going to Jordi Alba, but he puts it wide. And I think Joe Willis would have been there if he put it on target. So I don't know. It was easy because Inter Miami scored early. They controlled the game. There weren't a ton of big moments to talk about aside from 4 beautiful goals by Inter Miami, including 2 from Tadeo Allende, who, I mean, let's give him credit. He had a sitter and he nailed it twice.
I do want to amend your statement. I think it was easy because Inter Miami went in with a really good game plan and executed it to perfection. It wasn't as simple as Messi scoring the first goal and everything was smooth sailing afterwards. I think it was a lot more complex than that. But you're right. When I try to actually look at my notes, I have 3 things that I put down. One was that the fluidity in the front line was fantastic. It was so fun to watch. I thought there was some interchanges across the front line, not just on the ball, but also people were popping up in different areas and spaces, which was really nice. And that off the ball movement, I think, confuses defenders a lot, especially in the MLS, where the more static you are, the more difficult it is to break a solid backline. The second was the off the ball structure that Javier Mascherano employed, which was almost a 5-man at the back, at least for the first half, which was interesting. I don't know what it did as such, other than make us very defensively robust. Probably it was to double up against Hani Mukhtar in case he gets on the ball. And maybe that was to Javier Mascherano's credit, would stop Nashville from creating any opportunities in the first half. And then the on-the-ball structure, which was a 4-4-2. And I'm glad to see that Javier Mascherano didn't immediately put Sergio Busquets in the back line. He allowed him to play in the middle, which I thought was a lot better for Rodrigo de Paul and Busquets, and allowed us to be a lot more flowy in the way we were constructing the attack. So a few things here, but nothing crazy. Nothing revolutionary that came out of this game. Inter Miami did the job, and it was smooth sailing throughout the 90 minutes, if I may say so.
Yeah, I do.
By the way, I'm grasping at straws. I'm trying to make a conversation out of it because I agree with you. There wasn't that much to point
I do
out.
think the first goal is important.
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
More so than I think
Absolutely.
you do. It just shapes games, and especially if you're at home. If you're the road team and the other team scores at home and you already know you're up against it and you don't have the players, especially attacking players, that have done it a million times, it becomes difficult.
No, in such in a game of such magnitude, it calms down the nerves. It puts the impetus in Nashville to then go out and chase the game, which obviously opens up the game a lot more for Inter Miami. So I thought the first goal was uber important in the grand scheme of things. But I think Inter Miami would have dominated the first half regardless because of how they were set up, even if they didn't score the first goal. But I will say that first goal was hugely important to put everyone at ease and just put the marker early on saying, we're here to play and we're here to dominate you.
Just as a matter of fact, Francisco in the chat asks, how does the yellow card accumulation work in the MLS Cup? You get 3 cards before a suspension, but that suspension, or rather the cards reset after the conference semifinals. So Rodrigo de Paul is the only player at risk of getting a suspension for yellow cards, and he would have to get another yellow card in the next game. And if that happens, he would miss the following game if Inter Miami advances. So for the most part, Inter Miami pretty clean on that front. I'm ready to go towards, but I do think there's one conversation we should have first, and that is something that everyone is talking about in the chat. And just for relevance, I will read a couple of these. Kay says, unfortunately, with Suarez being in the starting lineup against Cincinnati, we have no chance. Cynical says, we need Suarez to be a power sub. Will Mascherano have the will to not start Suarez? Jay says, I think the lineup worked better than the usual lineup that incorporates Suarez SD says nervous about Suarez missing. Don't want to change the lineup of a winning team. I think you guys get the idea. Luis Suarez did not play yesterday, and Inter Miami wins 4-0. What do you think?
I think Suarez is going to play the next game. I may not want it. The fans may not want it. Everyone in the chat may not want it. But Luis Suarez is going to play the next game. The next game is also going to be very different. It's going to be a completely different ball game from the Nashville series. Inter Miami will have a different beast to contend with. I believe it's going to be more open. Whether or not that suits Luis Suarez's game or not, we can have a discussion on that. But he's going to start the next game. I don't see any universe in which Luis Suarez doesn't start that game. And I think that's about it. Anything other than that is going to be wishful thinking. The reality is Javier Mascherano is going to start his premier striker when he's available. And yes, we looked really good in the last game, but we also looked very good in the first game against Nashville in the series. We also looked very good on deadline day against Nashville, and Luis Suarez was a part of that. So Inter Miami's play style might alter a little bit against Cincinnati if Suarez is on the pitch. Absolutely, we'll have to accommodate for some of his weaknesses. We may not press as high, but I think that game's going to be different, and I think Luis Suarez will be an important contributor to Inter Miami going through. For someone saying that Inter Miami has no chance if Suarez is leading striker, I disagree. I think Inter Miami has as much of a chance with Suarez as without Suarez in this particular game. And I think that's about it. My personal preference, if you want to ask me, I can give you a choice, but I'll let you respond to it first.
Can I ask you maybe a different question? Luis Suarez doesn't play last night. Inter Miami wins 4-0. Certainly, if Suarez had started, Inter Miami would not have played the same game, and it would not have looked the same. I'm not entirely sure Inter Miami doesn't win that game 4-0 with Suarez in a different way, because I do think they're a better team than Nashville, and I think they've shown that over the course of the season, both in the regular season, in the playoffs, even in the one game Nashville did win. It was a one-goal game where a lot of things went their way, and Inter Miami didn't play that well, including Suarez, but across the board. So I'm not sure Inter Miami doesn't get a comfortable multi-goal win last night, even if Suarez does play. So for anyone that's saying you got to get Suarez out of the starting 11, look at what happened last night, I don't necessarily find that convincing. I need either you or the fans or someone in the chat or in the comment section or whatever to explain why what we can do differently without Suarez is better, especially in comparison to what we'll face against Cincinnati. So you're right. Suarez is going to play. He's going to start next game. Any conversation about benching Suarez with relation to that game against Cincinnati, I think has to be much more in depth than just, look, Inter Miami won big time without Suarez. And I'll be happy to entertain that conversation if someone wants to have it, because it's a fun hypothetical to always have these types of if, ors, or buts conversations. But I do think it is deeper than just Suarez didn't play and Inter Miami looked good in this game.
Absolutely.
So, and then again, I don't even know if I want to go down that. Like, if someone else wants to, and if you want to, we can have that conversation. But for me and in my head, it's not going to happen. So it's almost a moot point. And my brain's not like coming up with ways to scheme up not having Suarez in the starting 11.
I will say, I do want to have that conversation eventually. We have 2 weeks before the next game, and I think there's a conversation that we will have about how this Inter Miami team beats Cincinnati. And when we have that conversation, the point about Suarez will definitely come up. And I have some thoughts and ideas about why certain people think this team is better off without Suarez and why that would play out. But for all intents and purposes at this point in time, I am with you on the point that Javier Mascherano is going to start Luis Suarez in that game against Cincinnati. But I do think there should be a conversation about how this team might look differently without Suarez, with Suarez, with different looks. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a conversation about, oh, we can't win without Suarez. It's just a conversation about what are the different strategies of beating this Cincinnati team. And maybe that could be a midweek conversation or a conversation for next weekend.
Yeah, and the other aspect to this is Luis Suarez is going to start against Cincinnati in 2 weeks. He's not necessarily going to be here next year, as far as we know. There's been no information on that. So if you want to have conversations about what comes forward for next year in Luis Suarez, that is an entirely different conversation, but it's one I think we want to save until the season's over. Because right now, Suarez is our starting striker, and I think we all just want to make sure he scores a hat trick and we win the MLS Cup, right? That's
exactly
the biggest focus. Okay. That's all I got. Do you want to get to awards?
Mm-hmm. I don't want to talk about Nashville, so let's get to awards.
Yeah, I don't either. Good luck to them.
Should we spend 5 minutes?
We always talk about the opponent for a few minutes. Here's what I will say about Nashville. I think they're going to regress next season. That roster is Gary Smith's roster, and it's not something that's ideal for the way BJ Callahan wants to play. And while they're cycling out some of those players, Joe Willis, Walker Zimmerman, Alex Muehl, Daniel Lovitz, like there are some pieces there that I don't think fit with what BJ wants to do. And as long as that's the case, they're going to have to sort of reset again. I think they're going to spend this offseason trying to reshape the roster, but then that's when the rebuild begins. So I think next year might be sort of a step down, but I do think they got the right coach.
Yeah, I think so. I think they have some really good players. They've given Inter Miami a run for their money in this series. Took it to the 3 games. Their own fans didn't necessarily believe that would happen, and credit to them for that. It was a challenging game at Nashville, but Inter Miami was always going to be the better team over the course of 3 games. They had all that they could possibly offer to Inter Miami. They threw at us, and unfortunately, just Inter Miami is better, and that's the reality of it. In terms of their season overall, congratulations. I think Nashville has had a brilliant season. They've done really well throughout the MLS regular season, finished higher than a lot of people would have given them credit for. They won the US Open Cup. So they have a trophy to their name this season, which is one more than Inter Miami can claim credit for. So well done to their team for a very successful season overall, and no shame in going out first round against a very solid Inter Miami side. So congratulations to your fans for that wonderful season, and hopefully we don't see much of you next season.
Yeah, they will be in the Champions Cup, and I would hate to start the season against Nashville in a Champions Cup match because just of how many times we've played them already. Although I can see that happening now that I mention it. Okay, awards. Guys, if you've never seen the show before, after every game, we give out 6 awards, a Heron of the Match, a Heron that flew north, and 2 individual awards each. And Saur, because you went first last time, I will go first this time. And I'm going to give it to the guy who scored another 10 out of 10 from SofaScore. Lionel Messi, who, listen, he played really well. He was intense. He did some work defensively. But to me, the biggest thing is he called game in the first 10 minutes, and I thought he made the rest of the game really easy for Inter Miami. He gets the first half brace. He gets an assist in the second half on the Allende chip shot. If he plays like that, Inter Miami can win the MLS Cup, and maybe will win the MLS Cup if he does that consistently.
6 goals, and we're done. That's all we need from you, Messi. 6 goals over the next 3 games. No, actually, 2 goals each game. Let's
have to be
call it
distributed.
That. Yeah. 2 goals each game, please. Don't go ahead and give me a hat trick against Cincinnati. That's not what we need. We just need 2 goals. My goodness, this is a player, man. CS just mentioned in the chat he was megging Tagseth for fun. He megged Tagseth in that second game, I think, at Nashville, and then he did it again. And Tagseth just came out of it laughing, and he was like, oh, my goodness. But wow. That performance yesterday was nothing short of supreme. His pass for Allende, by the way, for that assist was gorgeous, but also his first goal was brilliant. Well, his second goal was easy, but still kind of outside the box. he's just the leader of this team. And yesterday he had to lead from the front, and that's what he did. He was like, listen, give me 10 minutes. I'm going to get you all an early night, because then you're not going to have to work that hard for the rest of the 45 to 60 minutes. Inter Miami depends on this player. And if Inter Miami wins the MLS Cup, the only reason for that is going to be because Messi is an absolute superstar. He's a god, man.
23rd man, Heron of the match from the Driving Dialogue this season, which is insane. They did a good job.
23 man of the match. Bloody hell.
Yeah, and we try not to give it to him.
There's been games where we haven't given it to him on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's a tie, we tend to go away from him because he's going to win so many. What they did really well in this game was progress the ball through the midfield and through the wide channels, and it allowed Messi to stay high, which is a role he was intending to play because he was playing more of a false nine than sort of a second striker, number 10. But Inter Miami handled it well and was still able to get him the ball high up the field when they needed to, and that was important. And then beyond that, the press early in the game, especially in that first goal, but in multiple occasions, was really effective in creating turnovers and opportunities for him to be what we need him to be. So, like, if anyone wants to make a Suarez conversation about him having the bench, like, you should start it with having a team that presses high for substantial periods of the game and creates high turnovers and hit the ball to Messi in space, high up the field. Like, that's where that is going to start to convince me. He's incredible. I mean, we've said it a million times, but
by the way, to your point, that fourth goal also came by Inter Miami pressing high, where Segovia won the ball in a dangerous position and then passed it off to Messi, who then has a beautiful through ball to Allende. So that works. That works for Inter Miami.
Yeah, and it's always worked for Inter Miami since this team has come together, or at least since the beginning of 2024. They have been an incredible transition team, especially if you can create turnovers either in the middle or in the opposition half. They are so incredibly effective at converting those into high-quality chances and then, goals. I don't know what else to say, man. He needs to play. If he keeps playing like that, we're going to be fine. Here's what I'll say. We gave him, and maybe me more than you, a little bit of criticism for his performance last game. Not because he was bad, but because he wasn't this good. And for better or for worse, I feel comfortable doing that because I know he has this in him. I know he can do this. And so is it unfair to hold him to a higher standard than every other player? You can think so. I don't, because I know he can do this. And I know he can make it look easy.
He set the bar so high.
He can make it look easy, and he can do it for fun. And so when we go to Cincinnati, if he does this again, Inter Miami's going to go through. And if he doesn't, we'll have known that he could do this. So that's why he's always under the spotlight. That's the way he wants it. That's the way he's comfortable with. That's what he's been dealing with for 20 years or 18 years or whatever it's been. And he gets to do it at Inter Miami, and we get to watch up close and personal. So that's pretty cool. Heron of the match, no doubt.
Completely agree. Even though maybe Allende we could have called it, but listen, nobody can beat 2 goals and an assist.
Yeah, and a perfect. I think Allende has maybe if Messi didn't play, Allende could have had a conversation. I think Jordi Alba also had a really nice game, but Messi did play, he played like that, so it was Messi. Okay, second award, Heron that flew north. Herons from Florida don't fly north for the winter. They don't fly anywhere for the winter. So if you catch one flying north, you caught one doing the wrong thing. And Saur in that vein. Who is Inter Miami's Heron that flew north?
I'll preface this by saying when Inter Miami plays well and when I have this award, it's the worst award to give because it's so difficult to give somebody an award that says they were doing the wrong thing when Inter Miami won 4-0. So maybe we should come up with a strategy next season where we say, okay, this award is scrapped for today because I don't like giving it to somebody who's had a very decent game.
How about this? We scrap it if I have to give it, and we give it if you have to give
it. Sure. Yeah, of course. So I'll just preface by saying you guys can wring my neck in the chat if you want to, but I have to give it to somebody, and I will give it to Rodrigo de Paul because he got himself a yellow card and is now in danger of suspension if we make it past Cincinnati. And it was an unnecessary yellow card. He was doing really well, and he put himself in unnecessary danger. And that's about it. I thought he had a really good game, so don't come at me for it. I thought he was fine. There was no need for him to get this award, but the only reason I'm giving it is because he had one poor moment and is now going to have to watch out in the game against Cincinnati, which I think is going to be a difficult game, and he can't pick up a yellow card in that game whatsoever. I will also say in the first half, he had a couple of turnovers and poor passes, but overall, I thought his performance was generally very good. So, Rodrigo de Paul, Aaron that flew north.
I think everyone played good. A couple players played great, and nobody played below good. And so, of the players that played good, I think you have to give it to someone. And if you want to give it to DePaul, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned Allen in the chat. Cynical mentioned Allen in the chat. They kept a clean sheet, man. I can't give it to them. I thought Allen had a really good game, very solid throughout. So I think I have to give it to. Yeah.
I thought Noel was fine too. I think we can move on because he played fine. Like I think if we get this, he played good. If we get this from Rodrigo de Paul every game, like it will be an improvement on what we've gotten so far from him, and I'm happy with that. So,
and I wouldn't have given him any other award today. So hey, might as well get him on the score sheet.
Okay, first award. Oh, I'm realizing my awards are pretty simple. I'm giving the Sky High Bouncer Award.
Did you give this to Tadeo Allende?
Really? Do you have that little respect for my award-giving ability?
Because I would have done that. Yeah, I would say you're giving it to Tadeo Allende because he bounced the ball over Joe Willis and put it in the back of the net. And yes, to answer your question, I do have very little faith in your awards.
Probably doesn't help that I prefaced that by saying I didn't have great awards today. It's Tadeo Allende because...
Wait, sorry. I apologize for cutting you off. But do you want to know what my award for Tadeo Allende was?
Sure.
I gave him the Cash in the Chips award because he chipped the goalkeeper.
Hey, that's good though, because all of the misses all year was he was gambling and he was missing, but he finally hit and then he cashed his chips. Yeah, that's better than mine. No, he scores 2 goals. He has a great game by his standards. The impact he was having, I thought, was felt not just in the 2 goals, but in the way the front four was playing. You mentioned it, the dynamism from the front line, the pressing, the intensity, like it was all there. And he was a big part of that. Plus he got 2 goals. On another day, he would have gotten the man of the match. But yeah, he chipped the ball sky high. And I've always thought he, as a basketball player's athleticism, he can hop. He's a bouncer. And yeah, I'm just hoping I don't have to go to my 3rd award.
I'm just saying, him in this form makes me want to keep him because he's been doing really well recently. And that's the thing with Allende. He may have like a stinker of a patch where a few games he just misses everything. But when he starts contributing, 14 goals in the MLS is no joke. I think he's on 18 goals overall. If Inter Miami makes it past Cincinnati and gets to the conference finals and then maybe the MLS Cup finals, he could have 20 goals for the entire season. That's a great contribution. He's done better than Julian Gressel, Robert Taylor, Matthias Rojas, all of them last season. And his contributions, for what it's worth, can't be denied. So if you ask me if we bring him back next year, I would. He's been really good as a right wing over the last few games, especially. And I think once the team found its own form and understood how to play, he has really come into his own. So credit to him for turning around what was a pretty poor patch of form to now being really confident in front of goal, because that chip was not easy.
No, and as I mentioned last night, he tried to chip Joe Willis in game 1, and Joe Willis made a nice save on it. So he realized he really had to get it up and over, and he was able to do that and also bring it down. And so I know people will say, oh, he skied it, but I think he did that in response to getting saved in game 1. Speaking of next year, he is on loan from Celta de Vigo, but it's almost this weird scenario where if he doesn't play well, you're not going to want him back. But if he does play well, he'll have teams in other parts of the world that will want him. So I don't know. It almost feels like there's a very narrow sort of thread for him to come back to Inter Miami, unless that's what he really wants to do. And of course, we have no insight on that. So 18 goals. If he finishes with 20 goals, it's impossible to have a bad season with 20 goals, I think.
It's impossible to have a bad season with 20 goals. So credit to him, man.
I mean, he tried, but no, I'm kidding. Yeah, the numbers are what they are. Okay, what is yours first award?
My first award is give him a Netflix show award.
Jordi Alba, because it is a Hollywood finish to his career, and he deserves to have it remembered in a dramatic documentary on Netflix. Jordi Alba. And he was awesome.
For what it's worth. Yeah, for what it's worth, that's a good description. But no, unfortunately, it's not Jordi Alba. I will give this award to Maxi Falcon because for me, he's been the man of the series. In cricket, we have this thing called man of the series where you give an award to the player who's been the best player across all three games. And I think across all three games, Maxi Falcon has been fantastic. Messi had a bit of a stinker in the second game, where he still scored a goal, but wasn't necessarily phenomenal. And yes, everyone can argue with me that Messi was the best across three games, and I would agree with you. But I think other than that, Maxi Falcon was brilliant. We conceded 2 goals against Nashville, well, 3, I believe, but they didn't have a single goal in open play. And I thought Maxi Falcon was a huge factor in how we've played. I absolutely loved his performance. And if this is what he's going to be like for the rest of the playoffs, man, I'm glad we signed him.
Yeah, one player we are going to have back next year under any circumstance. Can you explain the award to me?
So give him a next Netflix show because he deserves his own series. He was man of the series in a Netflix series. Boom. Ta-da. Boom.
Did you want us to audible to Jordi Alba as soon as I explained it?
So give him a Netflix show award because he was Hollywood fantastic. That's what he was.
All right, fair.
No, man, it was a good award, man. Come on. Maxon killed it. There you go. We've already found a name for his Netflix show, the Maxon.
It shouldn't be an HBO Max show, though. Not an.
Oh, that would have been
show.
a good one. Oh, that would have been a really good one.
Yeah.
Give him an HBO Max show. Can I change it, please?
I think maybe we
make
can edit
a
that in post.
Post edit, yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, he's been fantastic, and I think it goes beyond this series. He's through the first 80% of the season. I think we would have said he had some incredible highs, but also some really poor lows. But over the last 20% of the season, and as we're getting into playoff times, I think he's been consistently really good. I think he is going to be tested in this next game in a serious way because his style is perfectly suited to handle a Sam Surridge. And I think it'll be a little bit more difficult with what we see against Cincinnati and potentially, moving forward. But he was great in this series, not just in this game, but he continued in this game. Gets a clean sheet for Inter Miami. And while Rocco had a couple saves, Noah Allen was fine, was good. Maxi Falcon was like the leader of this defense. And there was certainly a heart and soul of the defense type personality, I think, coming from him, especially in the first 2 games. So not just for this game, but for the entire series, I think it's a good award.
And I just want to say, for people who claim that Inter Miami's defense is really bad, in the MLS, you have to front load all your investments to the front line and in goals. It's very difficult to have a perfect lockdown defense. I don't think any team in the Eastern Conference, at least, would have a defense that's going to stop everything. There are going to be some holes here and there. But I think Maxi Falcon, over the course of the season, has been a great investment. And we might need to recognize that and give him credit for it because he has had some really poor games, but his best games have been in clutch moments and in very difficult circumstances. So well done to him for turning things around. And I think he's going to be up for a challenge at Cincinnati. I don't know if he comes out of it unscathed, but I think he's going to be up for it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Yeah, me too. And no fear either. Like, I think
Yeah.
confidence in him going into that
Mm-hmm.
game. Okay, I'm giving the Call It Irresistible award.
Call it Irresistible Award.
That's right.
The only player I would like to call irresistible is Jordi Alba because he eventually comes for it. I don't know what that means, but yes, I want to give it to Jordi Alba because he is irresistible when he's on song. And when he's playing well, he's fantastic. So, Jordi Alba.
Do you know what's impossible to play against if you are the defensive players on Nashville?
The combinations between Messi and Alba.
That high press, because they do not have the ability to resist Inter Miami's high press. They don't have the ability to play through it. And Inter Miami took advantage of that. And by the way, for an Inter Miami fan, it kind of looks irresistible to watch. And it's part of the reason a lot of people want to see Suarez off the field is because they think they're going to get a much better, they're going to get a much better press from the front. And when you talk about MLS defenders, you are not going to get a ton of great ball playing defensive players. And so if you press high, you're going to win a lot of balls high up the field and you're going to get Messi a ton of opportunities. And that's exactly what Ian Frey did in that 10th minute. Creates a turnover, and it leads to Messi's goal, which I have said multiple times in this episode. I think that's when the series was won. Giving it to Ian Frey, but it's a combined award for the entire front four and their pressing effort, but I have to give it to one player, so I'm giving it to Ian Frey. But it is really for the entire pressing effort.
I will say you've kind of messed up the award order because I thought you were going to go for a certain player, and that's why I gambled on having certain awards. But I feel like we're going to miss out on somebody, somebody important. No, just to talk about Ian Frey, I think he's just been, again, head and shoulders above what we've seen from Chelo Wegan. And I'm just glad that Javier Mascherano has recognized that. The fact that he started all 3 games against Nashville in the playoffs is a testament to the fact that he cemented his role on this team. He can lock down that right back for years to come. He can be a starting right back for years. He's 19, right? Or 20.
No, he's 23.
So young.
He's 23.
Oh, wait, what? Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
he
can lock down that right back for years to come, minus 3 years. He's just brilliant. He's so silky smooth. There was a moment in that game where in the second half, we were trying to build up and Messi and him just had like a back and forth. Messi bopped it over from the Nashville defender straight into Ian Frey, and then he busts his gut down the line to try and create an opportunity. Overhits the cross, but just the way he angles his body, finds space, his comfort on the ball, his ability to play in pressure, it's invaluable and irresistible when he actually gets going. It's fluid, silky smooth, and this is a brilliant player. I'm just glad that he's at Inter Miami because who knows, he's going to get called up and called out soon enough. I hope somebody comes knocking on the door for him because he deserves to play at a higher level.
Yeah, he could play as a center back or a midfielder as well in the MLS. I think we've shoehorned him into right back because I think that's where we can improve the team the most. He's clearly a much better player than Chelo Wegan. And when we have defensive issues at center back or in the midfield, like you have other players you feel can step into those roles. Guys like Yannick Bright, Maxi Falcon, Toto Avias. But the right back spot is where he can be like individually the most impactful based on who else is on the team. But he's a versatile player. But really, I wanted to give this award as like the front press because I think this made the game. It's something I've wanted to see more from them over the course of this season. They don't do it a ton, but when they do, they create a ton of high turnovers. And when you create high turnovers, you get the ball to guys like Lionel Messi, and I know he didn't play in this game, but Luis Suarez in ultra dangerous positions, and those guys are incredibly clinical when you give them those opportunities. And so any conversation, I think, about Suarez not playing is because you want to see them press high, win the ball off of these poor fullbacks, these poor center backs, these poor Yazbek, tag, whatever, players, because they're not going to be able to play through it if you do it well. And then when you win the ball, you get the ball to Lionel Messi, and you're not going up against a set and ready defense, and you're going to score a ton of goals that way. So it is irresistible, man. And I don't, we're going to see Suarez, but I think any reason you'd want Suarez off the field is because you want to see that from them. And I get that. And I like it too. It's fun to watch. So I wish we did a little more, but in this game it really worked. And I thought solidified the game for Inter Miami.
By the way, again, it's not going to be easy against Cincinnati, but I'm really looking forward to Frey going up against a very solid Cincinnati front line. That's going to be a spicy affair. And I think he's going to be up for it.
Yeah. They play a back three, and we'll get into it a lot, I'm sure, but it'll be interesting. Very fluid front line. Okay, what is your second and final award? And can already tell it's not Jordi Alba. So, who's your last award for? And
I did have an award for Jordi Alba, by the way, but we never got to it because you messed up the order. I'm gonna go for the Mind Over Matter award.
The Mind Over Matter award goes to Matteo Salvetti, because if you don't mind not scoring, it doesn't matter. We'll take that assist and we'll take that game-sealing second goal. Bada boom, bada bang. You're on mute. You've muted yourself. Guess we lost Saur for a minute here. Okay, well, while Saur tries to fix his microphone, we'll give him a chance to, I guess, I don't know what the award is for, so we'll go back to Ian Frey, and maybe we'll talk about Jordi Alba. Are you back? No.
My God.
Wait, go ahead. No, I can hear you. You're back.
Okay. The award goes to Matteo Salvetti because he chose mind over matter and trying to go for a goal in a very crucial moment. And I mentioned in the pregame show that he has to be composed and he has to use his mind and IQ over his skill and talent. And that's exactly what he did. And I'm going to stop talking before I get shut off again. But that's the award. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. We'll be back in midweek for another episode. See you on the other side.
No, I think he deserves mention for this game. That assist was the big moment. And you talked about this in the pregame show, that moments matter. And I've continuously referred to that opening goal from Messi. But that second one was just as important. And it happens because a young player decides, I don't need to be the hero. I want to win. And he makes the smart play, and he has the vision, and he puts it in Messi's path, but he waits until Joe Willis commits. Like, he does everything perfectly right. Makes the run when Jordi Alba has space. Everything right in that moment. And those are the types of moments that seal games and that help you move on to the next round. So for a young player to have I don't want to like overemphasize this because he is a professional soccer player, but not everyone does that. That is a professional soccer player, and he did it. And so that, I think, is awesome.
In a very crucial moment in an important game, to go up on goal, I thought he was going to shoot, and to pass it off to Messi and see that he's coming in. It wasn't like he was right in front of him. He was behind him. So to look up and put that pass right in his path was very well done, commendable. And glad to see that he has that in his locker. He's not just all pomp and show.
Yeah. The rest of the game, I thought it was more just a fluid impact. I didn't think he was... Like, I think that was the standout moment from him, but...
There was one or two where in the second half, he had a nice dribble in the box and turned the defender completely and then put a really flashing cross across the box, but nobody was there to convert it.
You're right.
I think Allende almost got to it. So he had some really good moments, but yeah, that was the most important one, and he did that really well.
Yeah, he had another, shot. I don't think it was going to be on target, but it gets deflected by Joe Willis anyways. But I think that's what you need from him if he's going to play, is make the smart decision and work hard. You don't have to be the hero every game. That's what Messi is for. That's what Messi does for you. You have to make the right decisions in the crucial moments, and he absolutely did that. So fantastic decision from Silvetti, and maybe this is a relevant conversation. Does he go back to the bench next game? Does he take Baltasar's spot? Does he take Allende's spot?
I think he's better than Baltazar. But Baltazar started more games and is in better goal. Well, is in better, I don't want to say better form, but is more embedded into the team. And I think Baltazar had to do some unselfish stuff yesterday by doing a lot of defensive work. So I think he goes back to the bench, unfortunately.
I think he goes back to the bench too, and I can't complain about that really, because I'm not complaining about it for Talasco Segovia or Yannick Bright either. So you got to do what you got to do to help the team win and advance right now, and if that means you come off the bench, then that's fine. If it means you start, then that's fine. Here's what I will say. I not agree with you on Baltasar that he's better. I don't disagree. My point is, I think next season, if you set up a true 4-3-3 and you get a left winger I could only choose one of them for the whole season, it would be Silvetti. He is
class.
He is going to be really exciting next season.
Now if you play him as a full out winger, he will rinse every team in the MLS.
And that's Saur and I were talking before we got on stream about Suarez in the future and what it looks like next year, but I almost think you want to run a 4-3-3 next year because you want this kid to play as a natural winger on that left side. But I don't know if that makes a difference for this playoff run, so maybe we hold that conversation off until the offseason. But, man, he's exciting. Okay, let's talk about Jordi Alba, because I realized earlier on the episode that I did not give him an award, and I should have. Really, he probably should have been the first person to get an award outside of Messi. It was his 100th appearance. He has 2 assists. Classy as always. I guess the first one was a hockey assist, but he puts the ball over the top to Silvetti. It's a perfect pass. Obviously much more directly involved in that third goal that did seal the game on Allende's first goal. I didn't love the first 5 playoff games from Jordi Alba. I loved the 6-1. Not only was it the special moment with his 100th appearance, I think he becomes the 6th player to do that in Inter Miami history. But again, if he plays like that, Inter Miami can beat anyone on any.
And he had a bit of a free drifting role in this one, because he was playing as a left center back sometimes. He was going forward. He was going beyond Baltazar at certain points. He was getting involved, getting on the ball, was one of the outlets to play out from the back when Nashville was trying to press us for the first 2 minutes. But overall, I thought fantastic performance from Jordi Alba. Again, another player who could have been in contention for man of the match, heron of the match, if Messi did not exist. But unfortunately, Messi's too selfish, always taking all the heron of the match awards. But Jordi Alba, great performance. And one of the key reasons why we actually won that game yesterday.
Yeah, incredibly sad that any game could be his last, because he is still a fantastic, fantastic player. He reinsured the midfield in this game, and they didn't ask that of Baltasar. And I think that's sort of what you're getting at when you're talking about him playing more conservatively, because they were getting overwhelmed in the midfield last game. And a lot of the last 3 games against Nashville, they've not been great in the midfield. Maybe game 1, that's not the case. But in game 2, it certainly was. This game, instead of pushing Busquets to the back line and not having much of a midfield, they just trusted Busquets in the midfield and invested more time and energy from Jordi Alba there to ensure that the team was functioning well. And then he still made the runs in and above, in and out and wide, had his impact, but that was maybe the biggest tactical change, not forcing Baltasar to play in the midfield, but giving Jordi Alba
Credit to
little bit of
Mascherano.
responsibility. Yeah, and it worked.
Recognizing that.
Perfectly.
Yeah, worked really well.
Anyone else you want to talk about? I thought Busquets was good. I thought Rocco deserves some plaudits. Makes 4
You didn't have much
saves.
to do this game, but like
2 inside
those
the
4 saves were
box, but-
so easy.
Yeah. I'm so much more comfortable with him back there.
Yeah, I was gonna say easy, but easy for Rocco. Like we expect him to make those saves, so good for him for doing that.
Can I just say something? I saw someone on Twitter today say maybe we should give Rocco a look on the U.S. men's national team. I didn't say that. I want to be clear, but like that is not that didn't come from an Inter Miami fan either. I want to be clear.
Interesting.
Like I think that's how good Rocco's been, and it's not the ultra flashiness, but it's just the consistently doing what he needs to be doing. And I thought this was another example of that.
Solid performance.
I also thought Velasco Segovia was again really good off the bench.
I thought so as well. Creates that second or third, fourth goal by winning the ball high up the pitch. I think Segovia has also come into his own in this role as a off the bench piece. And I will say, we said that Segovia is not going to be that effective coming off the bench. We were wrong. I think he's done really well to carve out a niche for himself. I'm gutted that him and Yannick Bright don't get to start, but I can understand why that's the case. And I'm just glad that they're getting the opportunity off the bench because, as we said, in this playoff series, every single player is going to be important across the squad. And if you have a job to do when you come off the bench, you have to do it. And I'm just glad that both Yannick Bright and Segovia have been doing that job very effectively coming off the bench. So credit to them for not letting it get to them that they're not starting, but instead being professional enough to do a fantastic job for their team.
Yeah, especially Segovia. He comes in and he has an impact. And you're right.
Yeah.
When we looked at the player profile of a Baltasar who's very aggressive and athletic and rangy, you kind of see the super sub impact he could have. And we thought, maybe Velasco doesn't have quite the same off the bench spark. But actually, he's absolutely had the off the bench spark. And so it's worked out really well.
Yep.
And then the other thing, I mentioned it last night, but I'm just going to point it out in case it becomes a thing. In the 90th minute, Inter Miami's up 4-0. Javier Mascherano decides to bring on Toto Aviles at center back instead of Gonzalo Lujan. And if that ends up mattering, I just want to say it did not go unnoticed by me. I hope this means Aviles is the next in line at center back in case someone has to come on or in case we need a third. Like you can envision a world where Inter Miami's winning a game 2-1 and they're getting battered and you put on another center back to help secure the victory. And I do hope if that does happen, it's Aviles.
As I said, I'm not reading too much into it, but you might be absolutely right. But something to look out for.
And then that's it. I think everyone just played well, and a couple players played fantastic, and it was at home, and Inter Miami scored early, and the fans were into it, and they're doing something they've never done before, which is go to the conference semifinals, and that is incredibly exciting, incredibly fun, and we get to cover it. And this time a year ago, I think it was this day a year ago, was when Inter Miami lost to Atlanta in Game 3. And it was a much different feeling than what we have right now. And I will just say this is much more fun. I enjoy this much more. And I hope it continues for the entire offseason.
Yeah, bottle it up. Does come every day that your team makes it to the second round of the playoffs. Inter Miami's done really well this series. It's going to get even more difficult from now on. And I will say they did one more thing last night, which is make us all feel comfortable throughout the 90 minutes, which doesn't always happen. It's going to be squeaky bum time for the next 3 games, however far Inter Miami gets. So strap in, guys. It's going to be a long ride. But we are going to be here every single game, covering it, as you said, Scotty, and analyzing it. And hopefully 3 more wins. 3 more wins, baby.
Yeah, last month was spooky season, but now it's thankful season. And I'm just thankful we're getting an experience, something we've never done before, because it's fun.
Yep.
We get to worry about the international break in a way that we've never gotten to be able to do before in November. So
This time last year, you and I were worrying about what do we do for the off season, because this has come way earlier than any of us thought.
yeah, and remember, what do we do about Tata Martino? And anyways, I don't.
So
wanna
many
get into all of
conversations.
that. Early thoughts on Cincinnati. Here's what I will say: the schedule has not been announced yet, as far as before the podcast started. Maybe it's come out in the last hour or so. The games, there's going to be 4 conference semifinals over the league. 3 of them are going to be on Saturday, a week from this upcoming Saturday, so in 13 days. But one of them will be on Friday night, I believe, which is in 12 days. I don't know if Inter Miami is going to be that Friday night, but keep it in mind, they were the Friday night game in leg 1 of the first round of the playoffs, so maybe it's something they'll repeat. I'm not sure. If not, it'll be on the Saturday in 13 days. Inter Miami will play Cincinnati at TQL Stadium. It'll certainly be the headliner of the day, prime time. I would imagine a 7:30 Eastern or maybe 8 o'clock Eastern start. And Inter Miami has to go beat Cincinnati at Cincinnati.
It's going to be a tough one, man. And if you got to be the best, you got to beat the best. And Cincinnati is one of the best teams in the league. I'm confident, but it's going to be difficult. But hey, Inter Miami has all the tools that we need and the best player in the world. So why not?
They're not as good as they were last year, even though they've gotten better results. That's at least the sense I've gotten from following them from afar this year. A lot of their fans don't think they're quite as clinical, not quite as gelling in quite the same way. I think they've gotten a lot of wins where they were good enough, but not necessarily good. I have not experienced that personally. I think they're really good. And I think at home, that is one of the best home field advantages in the MLS. And so I think it's going to be really, really hard. And I do hope Inter Miami and the Messis and the Rodrigo de Pauls and the Velasco Segovias, the guys that are going to international break, really take care of themselves and then get back as soon as possible to be a part of game planning for the week ahead, because it's not the biggest game in Inter Miami history, but if they win, then they get to play in the biggest game in Inter Miami history. So buckle up.
And I will say, in a tournament situation like this, in a knockout game, form doesn't matter. It's all about on that day, and you have to win by one way or another. And it doesn't matter if you win pretty or if you win ugly. You just have to win. So if Inter Miami finds a way to win that one game against Cincinnati, I think that's more important than anything else. And I hope we are able to do that, because regardless of how you win, you're going to go into the next round.
All right. We'll end it there, guys. We'll be back sometime this week, because Inter Miami has a 2-week break now before that highly anticipated Cincinnati-Inter Miami matchup. We'll be along for the ride, a couple episodes this week and next week to prepare for it. But until then, I hope you guys have a lovely night. We'll see you guys next time. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this, and have a wonderful day.